Welcome back to the channel. It's Sarah. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sarah. I make beauty, fitness, and lifestyle content centered around self-improvement and self-love and just becoming 1% better every single day. So on today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys about my nursing journey, answering your nursing questions, and giving you some tips on how I graduated debt-free as a first-gen, firstborn college grad. So let's get into the video. I'm super excited to tell you guys about my nursing journey because it was a journey. I think this is so important because as a firstborn, first gen in my family, I had a lot of people telling me because of where I came from and because of, being the first one in my family to graduate college or to go to college, that it was gonna be impossible for me to become a nurse without having or racking all of this debt. And I honestly just did not believe in going to school to better your life, become a better person, further my career, that I had to go into debt to do that. Like, I was just like, that makes zero sense to me, and I refuse to stand by those standards. Like, I refuse. And everyone's circumstances are different, everybody's situation is different, but I honestly and my family did not have the money to go to college. So I had to figure a lot of this out by asking questions, seeing what other people did, what was out there. And I believe that you can achieve absolutely anything. The information is out there. You just have to be willing to find the information. And if you're watching this video, you're taking the first steps, because I'm someone who's been through it. I'm someone who's gone through this journey, and I hope that this video can help you pursue whatever dreams that you have, whether that's to become a nurse, whether that's to become a content creator, whether that's to become anything, because it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is the steps that you take every single day to become a better version of yourself. And that starts with information. Like I said, I didn't believe that I should go to college, better my financial situation just for me to get out of college and, be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. So the way that I did it, just clean, short, was I went to a community college. I used to feel so bad, right? Because all of these people were like,
oh, you're not going to a four-year school? Like, there's no way you're gonna graduate as a nurse.
But little do people know that community colleges are amazing. They're affordable. They're a stepping stone to get to a four-year college. And I'll kind of tell you some of the programs and things that are out there. And then you can search in your state because it's different in every state. I live in Massachusetts, so these are some of the programs that we have. To get into it, before I kind of knew what I wanted to do in high school, I did not have the best grades. I struggled a lot, I would say, like, just with my experience in high school. I was really into the arts. I did a lot of choir and all this stuff. But aside from like doing what I, loved and was passionate about, I also, made sure that I was thinking about, number one, just the first steps of what I could possibly want to do, like in the future. I may not have been positive, but what are the things that I like to do? And I realized that some of the qualities of a nurse is being compassionate, being kind, being empathetic. A lot of people will probably say, like, I'm not smart enough. I didn't graduate high school with the best grades. I really didn't. And that's what community college does for a lot of students, is that it doesn't really matter where you come from. You kind of start on a clean slate. So going from high school to like community college, my freshman year, it was kind of like I was starting with this clean slate. But before I got there, my school personally had programs like that had to do with health. So I took a lot of, anatomy and physiology, biology, like really learning about, am I interested even in the body? Because nursing is a lot about, how the body works, how the body functions, and finding out the problems and the solutions to that. So yeah, so if you're in high school, this is definitely where I would start. Do you like biology? Do you like anatomy? Are you curious about the body? Are you compassionate? Are you kind? Do you love helping people? Like, that is the number one thing. A lot of people get into nursing and they don't even like helping people. They don't even like, being kind. And that's a whole different video. But what I would say is really figure out your why. Why do you want to be a nurse? What is it that you want to accomplish in this career? Because the career is so mentally, physically taxing. It's important to find out why you want to be a nurse in the first place, because that's what's going to drive you through all these, like, I'm gonna be honest, these difficult times. It's not an easy career. You're taking care of people and you're dealing with a lot of emotion emotions and people who didn't come from the greatest backgrounds or lack the education. So you have to have that compassion, empathy, kindness, all of that. So, but in high school, for me, we had programs that kind of set you up to start a career in the healthcare field. So find out if your school or your community has any programs like that. That way you can kind of get a feel of like what it's like to be in a hospital or what it's like to be taking care of people. I was a server a little after high school and I served for a long time, and that I feel like that's such a great job to kind of get the feel of like what it's like to, you know, serve people, because essentially that's what you're doing as a nurse and you're helping people. And I feel like serving was just like such a great job for that. So yeah, in high school I had those programs. I got into that program and we were able to do like clinicals and set foot in hospitals. I loved it. Got to kind of like shadow nurses and stuff like that, and I loved like what they did and what it entailed. So I said, okay, like I'll move forward with that. So that's where I was in high school. And I'm not saying like don't try hard. I actually did really well in like anatomy and physiology and all that stuff, but I'm saying that if you're not academically that great in high school and you think that your GPA is too low to get into any college, I'm gonna tell you this right now, that is not true. So my senior year, I actually graduated and I had no idea like fully if I was going to go into nursing or not. And then I started looking into colleges and I found my community college, and I just started with the prereqs, and prereqs is like English, biology, math. And what's great about community colleges is that they have a lot of aid in helping students who are have difficulties with studying, or there's extra tutors. Like there's just so many resources when it comes to community colleges. So don't let anybody tell you that just because you're not going to a 4-year that you're not going to succeed. It's a lie. And honestly, you're paying for the same or similar education, like for English and biology, like all those base classes, you're paying so much less for the same basic classes that you'll be taking your freshman year. Now, there's something called FAFSA, right? So FAFSA is financial aid assistance, and it's based off of your income, your parents' income. And fortunately, I was able to get I forget what it's called, but you don't have to pay the money back. It's literally a grant. I think it's called a Pell Grant, and you don't have to pay that money back. They literally give you that money because you are of a lower income or whatever, like to see if you can afford, you know, going to college. That literally paid for, if not most of my community college experience. There's like a whole bunch of rules, so definitely look into it, but that helped me a lot my freshman year. And they also gave me money for books and all this other stuff. So don't let people tell you that you can't succeed, period. But especially if you're a first gen and you think that you don't have the money, there are so many resources, so many scholarships. Like look into scholarships, ask your school, ask the community college that you're looking into if there are any programs, because there is a lot out there. Y'all, you just gotta look for it. You just gotta look for it. So yeah, my freshman year, I took my base classes, and I'm going to be so honest with you. The transition from being in high school to college was such a big transition, because now you're picking your own schedule. You're, you know, scheduling yourself out. No one's on your back to finish your work or do your scheduling. So it's almost like you're an adult, you know? Like, well, yeah, you're an adult, but it's almost like such this dynamic switch. With that dynamic switch, I, you know, struggled a lot in some classes because I realized that the classes were a lot more fast paced and like no one was going to chase me down for my work. Like I failed a couple of my classes, but I want to tell you, do not be afraid to fail. Failure only happens when you don't get back up. I failed like my psychology class, I failed stats, and I had to retake those classes. And the second time that I took them, I understood the material a little bit more. I reached out for help, and so don't feel like just because you failed a class or anything that you're not gonna make it. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's path is different. Everybody's learning is different. What I will say though, a tip is to figure out in that first year how you like to learn. I love videos. I love watching videos, and I also love recording the lectures and hearing it back multiple times. Helps so much. yeah, so then I did my prereqs my first 2 years. It took me a little bit longer because I did fail those classes, but it's not about how long it takes you. The point is that you get there, right? So then I finished all my prereqs, and the semester before, I was looking also into programs in those community colleges and around me to see what it required and the requirements to get into that program. So I applied for the RN program, and I'm gonna tell you again, I did not get accepted into that RN program initially, but they did have an LPN program. So what is an LPN? LPN is a licensed practical nurse. Do not let anyone tell you that an LPN is not a nurse. A lot of what's happening in the nursing industry is that they will degrade you because you are an LPN. I know LPNs that are far more educated than RNs, and that's not to say that RNs, because I'm an RN girl, but I was an LPN too, and the backlash and the bullying that I got because I was an LPN and I wasn't an RN was insane. They look at you as less of a nurse. You are not lesser than a nurse. You are a nurse. Doesn't matter if you're a licensed practical nurse, doesn't matter if you're a nurse practitioner, and it doesn't matter if you're a registered nurse. You're still a nurse. Don't let anyone tell you. Why I also took the LPN first is because I was just very hesitant throughout my whole journey. I was like, I don't know what it's like going to be to work as a nurse. So I took stepping stones. So as an LPN, it's a 10-month program. The program is so much shorter. I was like, okay, cool. If I can get through this, then maybe I'll go up to being an RN, and there's no problem with taking stepping stones to get to where you want to be. I did my LPN first, and that was 10 months. That was pretty brutal because it was 10 months, but I learned so much. And then as I was working as an LPN, I was also pursuing my RN degree, which allowed me to work as a nurse while also trying to become like an RN as a registered nurse. So nursing school for RN was so much easier for me because I was in the field for a little bit. I was in the environment, and things started to click a lot better. Like, I don't know. I think that was the best route for me. And there are programs where you can do LPN to RN. And I just want to say that I don't have my bachelor's. I stopped at my associate's because I felt like I just had no desire, girl. I had zero desire to do my bachelor's because there isn't really much of a pay like change. So I was like, I'm not gonna do my bachelor's. I just don't think it's necessary for me. There are programs that like if you get into like a hospital as an RN, they'll pay for your bachelor's degree. They'll take you through your whole bachelor's, and there you go. They'll pay you. They'll do tuition reimbursement, and you still will graduate debt free. The whole key is community college. And the little that I did have to pay, I just worked as a server, and I made great money. I was getting customer service experience. I was, working with people, helping people. And yeah, that was like pretty much my journey. So I went from LPN to an RN. When I was doing my RN degree, I also did that at a community college. They had an LPN to RN bridge program, and I was like, wow, this is great. And I got to skip 2 semesters. Like, you take a test, you get to skip 2 semesters, and then it's just another like 2 semesters to finish your degree. So I did that. But I also have to say, I'm telling you, I failed so many times trying to, get this degree. My last semester of my RN program, I failed that semester, and I was able to retake it again and again. When I retook it the second time, everything was so much smoother. Everything clicked a lot, more. Obviously, I cried. I cried so many times throughout this journey. It's a stressful journey. It's not an easy journey, but I honestly do think it's worth it. I think there's a lot of personal development that goes into it, and a lot of trials and tribulations, and it just makes it at the end, like when you do make it and you do have that cap and gown and you do go through everything, that it's like so worth it. It's so worth it. And the job itself, like aside from the money, is so rewarding. It's so fulfilling. I'm still, going through my nursing journey. If you look on my page, I just recently started travel nursing, which is a whole different realm, I guess, in the way that things function. But I worked in a long-term care facilities. I've worked in rehab. I've worked with vented patients. I've worked in the ICU for a very short time. And now I am working as a travel nurse, and I love it. And that's the great thing about nursing, is that there's so many avenues you can take. You can be an aesthetic nurse. You can be where you like, you know, do Botox and beauty, like all that stuff, which I'm thinking in the future that I will do because I love beauty, but I also love being a nurse. And then there's an IV nurse, med spa nurse, cosmetic nursing, aesthetic nursing, rehab nursing, ICU nursing, PACU nursing, travel nursing. There is so much you can do with nursing. It is seriously such a versatile career. Honestly, if you love helping people, if you are compassionate, if you're kind, don't let your lack of knowledge, because that's all it is, it's a lack of knowledge, stop you from becoming a nurse. We need more good nurses, nurses with good hearts, nurses that truly care for patients and the people that they work with. We need more of those. So don't let that discourage you. That is my nursing journey. It's been, how long? I think it's been like 6 years. I think I'm going on 6 years. And throughout that, like recently, because I recently started travel nursing, I took like a little break, but I was still like doing like agency work here and there. And I'm finding just like in this part of my nursing journey that I need breaks. Like I can work probably 3 months, take a break, take a vacation. But if you have any other nursing questions, leave them down in the comments below. Maybe I'll do like a Q&A and answer your questions. But that was my nursing journey. I actually have some tips. So let's get into some tips, girl. For all my new grad nurses, nursing students, those who want to be a nurse. So the first tip that I have is take all your prereqs first. I did this with both programs because when you are in the nursing program, balancing those prereqs like biology, anatomy, and physiology, all that stuff, while also taking on the nursing classes, it's a lot. I have seen people like try to juggle it and it's just like it's not tea. It's not tea, girl. It's really not tea. Take all your prereqs first so that when you get into the program, you can focus on just, you know, all the nursing courses and all the nursing things that you need to do because it takes up a lot of your time. So tip number 2 is work as a CNA while you're in school. If you're not in any or like a medical assistant, CNA licenses I think take like 6 weeks, sometimes 3 months to obtain, and it'll get your foot in a hospital so that when you do become an LPN, when you do become an RN, you already have some of that experience, number 1. And number 2, it'll be easier for you to find a job because you'll be in like a hospital, you'll be in that setting. It's just an easier transition. I worked as an LPN. I don't know how I got that job. I was not a CNA first, but it did. Oh, I do remember I graduated, took my NCLEX, and it took me like 3 to 4 months before finding a job because no one wanted to hire me because I had no experience. Your last semester or whatever, your first semester, because I think after your first semester, some programs allow you to work as a CNA. Get into that hospital, get into some type of medical setting, and it'll help you also throughout the journey because you'll be learning about these things and then also experiencing some of the things that you're talking about firsthand. The third thing I have is I watched a lot of medical shows. A lot of them are not 100% accurate, but the first one and I'm pretty sure everybody watches this, whether you're a medical student or not, but Grey's Anatomy, I loved watching those shows. And like when someone would come in with symptoms and stuff, I would kind of try and guess based off of my knowledge or based off of the things that I was working or learning what their symptoms were. And it was just cool to be like, you know, they have this and this symptom, like what could it be? And then finding out at the end of the episode that I was correct, girl. I was correct. That's correct. And then the fourth tip that I have is I feel like a lot of people don't talk about this, and because I'm on my channel I talk a lot about self-love and healing and self-improvement. I personally think that just like every therapist needs to do the work to be a better therapist, I think that nurses need to do their healing work at home aside from like just in their lifestyle in order to be the best nurse that they can. So I have to tell you, keep it a buck over here. We keep it real deal over here, that when you are dealing with patients and you have to have an abundance amount of patience, compassion, empathy, and a lot of nurses lack that. Surprisingly, like there are so many new mean nurses out there that, you know, eat their young. They bully new grad nurses, and it's like, it doesn't make sense. How are you a nurse who's supposed to have compassion, patience, and all these things, and you're bullying nurses that are coming in here happy and willing to help patients? It doesn't make any sense at all to me. It irks my brain. feel like a lot of that comes from not doing the inner work at home to learn how to be patient with yourself, to learn how to be compassionate with yourself, to learn how to be kind with yourself, to learn how to love yourself, so that when you are in the presence of people who are having a hard time, you're not embodying that energy and you're staying patient with yourself so that you can stay patient with your patients. So I 100% believe that if you're going to get into a field of any field, everyone I think should be doing the work. But especially if you're dealing with other people, that you need to learn how to do the work and learn how to not get out of character. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, some of these patients be cussing me out, and I've gone home crying a few times. But because I'm doing the work, because I am working on loving myself and just becoming 1% better every single day, I try not to take that stuff to heart and understand and put myself in that position and understand that it has nothing to do with me. They're in pain, they're, you know, going through a hard time, they have difficult diagnoses. It's not a fun time, and you need to mentally within your body be in a good space so that you don't, you know, make what's already hard harder. So that's my spiel on that. Those are some of the tips that I have. I'm pretty sure I have more, but those are what I wrote down. And I asked you guys on Instagram, make sure that you follow me on Instagram, because I do, you know, put polls and stuff for you guys and ask you guys like, what kind of videos do you want to see? What questions do you have? Let's get into some of the questions. I like to sing. We have one question. How do you become a nurse? This whole video was kind of like how to become a nurse, but essentially, you know, you have to go through the schooling, and then after you do your schooling, which I didn't talk about, is after you do the schooling, you have to go through the NCLEX, which is a test that you take so that you can become licensed. And then what other questions do we got? Here it is. It says, what travel agency are you working with and why? So personally, I'm not gonna say what agency I'm using just because it's kind of like displaying like where I work, but I will give you a couple of options and then you can kind of look into them and see what is most beneficial for what you need. So the first one is Host, the second one is Cross Country, third one is AYA, and the last one is GHR. Those are the 4 kind of companies that I kind of looked into doing research, because this is my first time also travel nursing, so I'm still testing out the waters and figuring out what works best for me. Maybe I'll do another contract, maybe I won't. But if you have any other questions about nursing, and probably do like a Q&A, so leave them down in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend and help a girl out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Love ya. Bye.